So now that all of the rebalances have been announced, someone made this suggestion in my Discord, and I think it was a pretty good idea. I'm going to go through everything, and I'm going to say what I think should be changed in a theoretical fifth rebalance wave, which I do think should happen, by the way. There's a lot of things that still need to be changed. There's some things that are okay. And just for the sake of argument, I'll list right here all the things that I think are currently fine in terms of mechs and weapons. But for all the things that are not fine, I'm going to go through them in this video. So, since they were messing around with some of the epic stuff, we're going to go through everything. We're not just going to focus on the legendary. I thought they were just focusing on legendary, but we'll go through everything. Puma, first and foremost, I think Puma needs a little bit more HP, a little bit more shield HP as well. MD, I think, needs more healing power or larger radius, or possibly even both, just to make it a better support mech. Arachnos needs like double the ability damage. It is incredibly sad, and also more HP. Shadow needs slightly more HP. It's mostly okay, but I think it's a little bit too weak, especially compared to like Tengu. Sentinel needs a little bit more shield HP, as well as for the max perk to apply to all ranks instead of just max level, like they did with Redeemer. They also need to make it so that cooldown implants actually work on Sentinel, which they don't. Yeah, these are the implants you can use. You cannot use a cooldown implant. It doesn't work. They need to make it so that it does. Zephyr, I think, needs a little bit of a speed increase, maybe a small amount of HP as well. Cheetah needs maybe a little bit of speed. It's literally named Cheetah, bro. You'd think that it'd be the fastest mech in the game, but it's like really extremely not. But I would say it needs a little bit more speed, more HP, and even more ability damage, or the ability to lay more than just 3 mines at the same time, right? So maybe it's like, maybe you could put out 6. Same thing with Arachnos. If you were to, instead of increasing the ability damage, if you were to just allow people to set up their abilities, to set up multiple of their abilities in one spot, you know, that would give people a reason to actually use those things and use their time to set up whatever thing for when people might come by. Brick House probably needs more HP. It being slow is definitely a problem, but I think, you know, pretty obviously it looks like it would be slow. The damage boost is fine. The self-damage boost only being 50%, I think that's also fine. Increase the radius though to like 20 meters. Maybe even give like resistance, almost like what Vortex does, where you and your allies will be tankier while the ability is active. Not 50%, of course, like maybe 20 or 30%. But it is very slow. It is very incapable of helping out teammates because, I mean, the ability is okay, but it's not that tanky. It's super slow. It's hard to keep up with teammates, and the radius is freaking tiny. So honestly, above all else, the radius needs to be larger, like 20 meters, maybe even 30 meters. Redox needs a bit more ability damage, also potentially more radius, but generally speaking, it just needs more HP, because being super slow and super fragile is not going to be a winning combination unless your ability is like ridiculous, which Redox is not. Gatecrasher, the buff that it did get was nice. I think it just needs to be a little bit tankier. That's about it. Scorpius needs more ability damage. It says it's 40,000 per magazine, but there's just 2 magazines, and so technically it would be like 80,000. Like, I don't know how accurate that is, but it doesn't seem like it deals 80,000 damage per ability. Maybe it's a bug that nobody knew about, or it's just not that good and it needs a damage buff. But for certain, the ability is very, very weak. Onyx, the damage per ability is good. It just is not able to deal with mod shields like pretty much at all, so you have to strip those first, which can be annoying. The HP is not that good and the speed is not that good, so you could increase one or both of those to make up for that, but you could also just reduce the cooldown or increase the range, or both, to be honest. Vortex needs a cooldown reduction badly, so instead of like 13 seconds and 8 seconds duration, it probably should be more like 10 and 10, to be honest, because like this ability is not even that good, okay, fellas? Like, come on. This is not even a crazy ability. Why is the cooldown this freaking long? It's almost as long as Deathwalker's ability cooldown, and that's like 10 times better. Bastion, 16-second cooldown. The Bastion also needs a cooldown reduction. 16 seconds for an ability that literally applies 3-second EMP in a 30-minute... Bruh, come on. That's not that good, fellas. Come on, it's ridiculous. The shield durability could also go up, which would make it able to get a little bit further. I mean, 60,000 at max level, nothing, dude. That is nothing. The ability damage is really low as well, but the damage is not really a big deal. I would primarily go with reducing the cooldown, increasing the durability. Deathwalker, it needs a longer cooldown. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's still bugged where people are getting like the 8-second or whatever pity cooldown that it gets, which if you didn't know, it's not listed here, but if you didn't know, if you use your ability and then you don't get sent back, if your ability just gets timed out, instead of getting 15 seconds, you'll get 8 seconds of cooldown. And I think it's been bugged for a while where 8 seconds is just your base cooldown always, so it's just ridiculously short every time. So they need to fix that, if nothing else, but it also just needs to be longer, I'd say. Or with the duration being shorter, because 15 seconds, that's a long time. Outlaw currently is fine, but it's going to get a really ridiculous buff that I don't think it necessarily needs. When it does get that buff, though, I mean, they're probably not going to roll it back, let's be honest. And we could work with that, right? Like, we can accept it to be the case. In that case, though, the cooldown needs to be like 20 seconds at least. Like, come on, 15 seconds for an ability like that, I think is a little bit ridiculous. Being able to shut people down from that range through walls, like without even being able to see them, I think is a little bit ridiculous. So increasing the cooldown will force you to be a little bit more choosy about who you actually use the ability on. And finally, for the mechs, Silverthorn. All you have to do to make this mech kind of decent, remove the max damage cap. That's it. Like, what is Silverthorn? Like, what is Silverthorn's ability realistically? You have to hit somebody with a projectile. After you hit them with the projectile, it stacks up 50% of your damage that you deal during 3.5 seconds, 3.5 seconds. It's essentially a 50% damage boost with a duration of 3.5 seconds. That's really, really pathetic when you think about it under that condition. But on top of that, it also has a cap, right? Like, there's a cap to said damage, which is only 60k. That's not good at all. So just removing the cap, it would still be kind of pathetic, you know, thinking about it under the light that I said, but at very least you'd get that 50% damage over 3.5 seconds. The cap is just completely unnecessary. Moving on to weapons, I mean, plasma cannon, well, let's just get this out. It needs more damage. It's really garbage. All of the early tier assault type weapons, like all of the old assault weapons, are really garbage, including carbine. I mean, autocannon I guess is okay compared to RPG, but like a plasma cannon's really bad compared to other uncommon weapons. Pulse cannon's really bad compared to other rare weapons. Fusion cannon's really bad compared to other epic weapons, and carbine is really bad compared to other legendary weapons, and this has been the case for a very, very long time. So all of these low tier assault weapons need damage buffs. Fusion cannon could probably use a little bit of a projectile speed buff. Carbine needs both of them for sure though, damage and projectile speed, which, by the way, bro, this is ridiculous. Projectile speed of 160 fires short bursts of high damage, high velocity rounds. Bro, that's not high velocity at all. 160 is not high velocity at all. Voltaic RPG has a projectile speed of 160. Like, it's really bad. A low projectile speed makes it very, very difficult to hit people at any type of range. Carbine has 120 meters range. The optimal range is only 30 meters though, and it's partially due to the really garbage projectile speed. I think the mag size is okay. I think the double damage chance is whatever. Like, I've never been excited about double damage chance. I think the hit cone is fine. I think the reload time is fine because it's pretty short, and there's also a really good implant for it, so you can get the reload really good, but it's just impossible to deal any type of damage at any type of range, and it also doesn't deal any damage just in general. Gauss rifle also, I think, needs a little bit of extra damage, like maybe 10%, as well as Quantum Gun, although Quantum Gun could probably also use a slight reload speed buff. So like, instead of 6.5, it could be like 5 seconds. Voltaic RPG definitely needs a little bit of a damage buff, but mostly range buff. You know, this weapon could be okay if it had like 120 meters range. I'll be honest, it could be okay if it had like 120 meters range. The radius is all right. The single hit damage is, you know, not the best, but it's workable. The projectile speed is not that terrible. It's an okay weapon, but it's just like 90 meters range. It forces you to operate inside of like the range of all of these like brawler type weapons for the most part. It's just really bad. So at least 100 meters, probably like 110, and then a little bit of extra damage per shot as well. Stasis beam, also needs a damage increase. It does like no damage, and I get the idea behind it's like, oh, it's like a support weapon, but support weapons like that are just, they're completely pointless. Why would you do that? Why would you like why would you use a weapon that makes it easier for your teammate to get a kill if you could just use a weapon that would get the kill, right? There's no point. The only way that assist type weapons are ever going to work is if you as a support, along with a primary teammate who's taking advantage of your support, the only way that it's worth it is if that pairing is more effective than just two primary damage dealers, right? Which it's not. Two primary damage dealers is way better than one primary damage dealer plus an assist type stasis beam. And this goes for all kinds of assist type mechs and weapons, by the way. So the idea behind like support and assist type mechs and weapons is that, you know, ideally you helping a teammate would be more effective than just two, you know, brawler type teammates. So stasis beam being really garbage, the range is fine, 150, right? It's great. The stasis build up is acceptable, but the damage is really garbage. It's completely unusable. But I also just don't think that stasis as a status effect is super useful anyway, and you can apply that with all kinds of other stuff, including quantum gun, which was just like way better. I think what stasis beam should have is a build-up type of mechanic where if you hold the beam on someone for longer, then they're in stasis for longer, right? So instead of only like 3 seconds or 5 seconds or whatever of stasis, you could hold the beam on one guy for an extra long time to get them to like 10 seconds of stasis and then move on to somebody else. And that way you could actually like be useful. Even without dealing a ton of damage, you could still be useful. And then the last of the epic weapons that needs to be changed is Arc Torrent. So Arc Torrent, what it used to be was like, okay, sure, it's a close quarters weapon. It deals a good amount of damage. It sacrifices burst damage for a little bit of range. So it used to be the longest ranged close quarters weapon, but its damage was slightly slow because it's more of a sustained fire type thing. And I think that was fine. I actually think that was a good balance and a good trade-off. And it should have that again. They nerfed the range down to 30 meters for no reason. The damage fall off, like even if you have a range implant, the damage starts to fall off above 30 meters. So I think that's just stupid. I think it should go up to like 50 and then you still have the range, as well as probably the damage per shot being increased a little bit. Storm Rack, I think, needs a little bit of a nerf. The weapon itself, I think, is fine at its core. The problem with it is that there is a legendary reload implant that reduces this reload speed by 50%, which is obnoxious. That implant should be 30% and not 50%, and I think we'd be golden. Disc Launcher needs a little bit extra damage. They nerfed it a while back. They didn't actually nerf the damage at all. What they nerfed was the radius primarily, so they made it so that the radius has damage fall off, which I think is fine. I would personally advocate for every radius-based everything to have damage fall off, like mechs and weapons, everything that deals damage outside of like, you know, maybe redox type of like status effect damage. Every type of just raw impact damage should have fall off. I think that makes sense, and I think that's just better for the game overall. But what they also did was they removed the ability for Disc Launcher to deal back damage. So they gave it damage fall off on the radius, which is fine, but they also made it so it can't deal back damage. It doesn't make any sense. The radius is massive, so it's like, sure, you shouldn't make the radius super strong, but I think you only needed one or the other, right? Either remove the back damage multiplier or give it damage fall off. I don't think you need both. The damage fall off I think is great, so they should give it the ability to deal back damage again. And they should increase the damage per shot slightly because other weapons have kind of just surpassed it. Repeater needs a little bit more magazine or a little bit shorter reload time. As it is, it's okay. Like, they buffed it a bit. It's better now for sure, but it's still not really usable. It runs out of damage very quickly, even under the scenario that give it enough damage per magazine to guarantee almost any kill that you want. It's still completely useless, basically, after that one kill, so you'd have to use it in, like, 1v1 scenarios exclusively, so it wouldn't even be OP, even then, right? So I think that, you know, buffing the magazine or reducing the reload time would allow it to at least be good in that regard. Railgun and EM rifle both need a little bit of shield pierce built into the weapons, I think. You kind of can't have people running around with multi-layered mods everywhere And especially since they're going to be changing this, right? It's like currently a lot of people don't have access to mods, but they will very soon. So everyone's going to have multi-layered mods on everything. And EM rifle and railgun, just being the way that they are completely useless against those types of things. So they should be worse for sure. Like obviously you shouldn't be able to just one-shot everybody with EM rifle regardless of what it's on, but they shouldn't be useless, right? It's completely ridiculous. So instead of the double damage chance, you should just convert that into shield piercing, or just give it like 20 to 30% shield pierce, I think is all it really needs. Same with railgun. Tetra rifle, it also, instead of 15%, it could use probably 20% at least, maybe 30. But then railgun on top of that, I think that's a really long reload time, and I don't think it needs to be that long. I get it that it's like a recharge type thing, and it does have a reload implant, which is pretty good, but like it's like 10 seconds per shot almost. This should be reduced to like maybe 25 or something. Right? Graviton beam, I think the main problem, so the main problem with graviton beam is, again, when you get into mods, there's the whole thing where you build up the implosion and it deals damage, but it only takes down one layer of a multi-layered shield for whatever reason. Would it be too strong if the implosion completely bypassed multi-layered shields? Probably not, so they could just make it so it bypasses multi-layered shields, but let's just work off the assumption that they really don't want that. In that case, you can still work around that, but what you'd want to do is you'd want to reduce the build-up time of the implosion, but then also reduce the implosion damage, so that your damage per minute is the same, but you're getting off more implosions per second, which would then chew through multi-layered mods faster. Howler, probably, it's like they buffed it technically twice, but it's still kind of extremely garbage in late game. It's actually use it less now. When I first got it, it was good. It did a lot of damage per shot. There was only 4 shots, but when there was no mods, it was very strong. Now that they buffed it, it deals less damage per shot, and so it just takes longer to kill people. Any mech that would have taken 4 shots now takes 5, maybe even 6, which, even though sure, you have extra shots, and sure, the reload is decreased, but it actually takes you longer to get most kills. It takes you extra shots, which means extra time. So the fire rate should probably be increased in this case. The fire rate is like 2 per second, so it's 120. Don't pay attention to this number. This number is completely inaccurate. Just by looking, just by using the weapon or seeing someone watching a video of someone using the weapon, you could very clearly tell that it does not fire 1 shot per second. That's what 60 RPM would be. That would be 60 shots per minute, which is 1 per second. It does not do that. This number is stupid. It's bogus. You could look at a frequency of fire per minute, but this includes reload time, which makes it a completely pointless stat to even show. But essentially, what I'm saying is they should increase this number. They should increase it to like maybe 3 shots per second as opposed to only 2. And that way you get back to where the total unload time is the same. Chain gun is horrible. Honestly, it's really bad. It's sad. The mag size is kind of small. The damage is extremely bad. The buildup exists and is completely unnecessary. The reload speed is also really garbage for what it is. The only thing that really has going for it is the range. The effective range is pretty decent. They could increase that range even more, lead into the range a little bit more, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. I think the problem is, first off, the build-up time is completely unnecessary. Just get rid of it, honestly, dude. The reload time being 9 seconds for, look at this. Okay, the max damage per shot, 1726, versus minigun's max damage per shot, which is 2674. They have the same fire rate. They both shoot 10 shots per second. So minigun has about 50% more damage per shot, and it also has twice the magazine. So you could buff chain gun by a further 50% in terms of damage, and it would still not be that good because the magazine's so small. But I think you should go, I think the ideal way to do it would be to go a little bit in on everything and lean more into the effective range. I would say the max range should be like 130. I think the build-up time should be completely removed. I think the magazine should be like maybe 120 as opposed to 100. The reload speed should be like 6 or 7 instead of 9, and the damage should be increased by 20 to 30%. And then Dreadshot. Dreadshot is okay in terms of damage. It's okay in terms of range and reload. And the magazine is all right as well, but it's just the RPM's so bad. I think 1 shot per second, which is terrible. So they should increase the RPM. They could even give Dreadshot what Chain Gun had, which was the the RPM buildup, where it builds up to like twice the fire rate if you hold the trigger down for a little while. I think that would be okay, but a Dreadshot definitely needs an RPM increase, and also maybe a small damage per shot increase. But generally speaking, it's just not able to kill stuff fast at all. Blast RPG needs more damage. The damage that it has is extremely bad, and it also needs to not have the freaking homing mechanic. Why does it have homing? Missiles will be attracted toward nearby enemy mechs on their flight path. That's so bad. So like, radius weapons are usually good because you can use the radius to hit behind an enemy and therefore deal double the damage. Blast RPG actively works against that because it's trying its absolute best to hit somebody in the front, to home in and hit somebody in the front. It's so bad. It's frustrating as hell. It's extremely frustrating to use, and it doesn't need homing. Like, come on, man. So I would say just get rid of that. But if not, like, at very least give it damage. At very least give it extra damage, because 6,000 damage per shot at rank 6. Dude, it's like, I'm looking at all of these different weapons that have, like, individual projectiles, all the 12 energy weapons. Everything has way more than 6,000 damage per shot, except for Pod Gun, which has a pretty fast fire rate and also 12 bullets. I mean, it also has double damage chance, right? So it's not, the average is closer to 5,000 damage per shot. But like, that's really bad, dude. That's really bad. Even Disc Launcher has like 50% more damage than Blast RPG does. Blast RPG's damage per shot is abysmal, and it's only got a max size of 10, right? Like, that's completely garbage. Podgun has slightly less damage, but at least it has faster fire rate, more mag size, and faster reload. So it ends up being more damage overall. Blast RPG is just sad, dude. It's really garbage damage. It is. Oracle also needs another buff. It got one, and it's, technically better now, but not to the point where anyone would actually consider using it. It's still, like, kind of completely unusable. At very least, what they should do is, like, the status effect, when you apply the reveal status effect on an enemy, it should look more like Mimickers and not the whatever completely obnoxious garbage thing that it currently looks like. Mimickers thing is like you scan somebody and it shows the outline of the enemy, right? So you can see which direction they're facing, what mech they are, what weapon they're using, everything. And that should be the way that Oracle is. Instead, it's just this giant this flat PNG that just completely blocks out everything, and it's really obnoxious. You can't really tell how far away they are. You can't tell what they are. Can't tell anything. You just know that, oh, there's a guy in this general direction, probably. So that's really bad, and they should change that. But they could also increase the damage per shot, and I wouldn't complain because it's still not good. Berserker, I think it works really well at low SP is the thing, but it's extremely garbage at high. I think what it needs is just more magazine. I think it needs larger magazine, like 50%. It needs like 50% larger mag. And you might be like, well, that's like a ridiculous amount of extra mag, and you could get out a stupid amount of extra damage that way. Well, yes, but also kind of not, because the whole thing is that when you fire, the way that it currently is, when you're holding the trigger down, after you fire about half your magazine, the spread that accumulates from that, because the longer you hold the trigger down, the higher the spread goes. The spread that accumulates from that makes the weapon like almost unusable. So you have to fire it in bursts of about half a magazine. So you fire about half, and then you fire about another half. If you increase the mag size by 50%, then you could do it in 3 bursts. You could do the exact same thing, but you do it in 3 bursts as opposed to only 2. Because keep in mind, after those bursts, you still have to reload for 8 freaking seconds. So it's not like you just have to keep doing short bursts. You have 2 bursts and then you're out of damage for a while. So, and that's just kind of really garbage. I think they should increase the magazine by a lot. Maybe even reduce the amount of spread that gets accumulated by a little bit. Reaver, I think, is almost okay, but it needs a little bit more damage. Like, we're talking like maybe 10% more damage, and I think it would be very, very good. It's just barely not really able to take down multi-layered mod shields very effectively. Quasher it's growing on me. It's better than I initially gave it credit for, right? They finally fixed the damage numbers, so these are accurate now. That's great. But even still, I think the damage per shot on this actual sniper, like, it's a sniper weapon, right? It's supposed to be a sniper weapon. So the fact that the sniper shots are so extremely extraordinarily weak is kind of disappointing. I think the damage for the sniper shots should be increased by quite a bit. You don't have to reduce the enhanced shots any. I think those are fine, but you should probably increase the damage per shot for the sniper, and probably also the RPM for the sniper, just so that that aspect of the weapon is a little bit more usable. Once you get to the enhanced shots, you're fine, right? Once you get to the enhanced shots, you have decent damage, good range, even homing, right? Like, it's good. It's good, but the sniper aspect is really garbage. Burrow Beam is, I think most people would agree, a little bit too strong. 3 seconds of reload on this is obnoxious. Now, you might say, well, the damage is too high, you should just reduce the damage. Well, the problem with that is that if you're not able to kill things in a single magazine, then that means it takes multiple magazines, and that means it's basically useless at that point. Like, it should be able to take out some things, or even most things, with a single full magazine. Now, you could reduce the damage by a bit and make it so that you have to rely more on damage and mag implants to kill things, which I think would be acceptable, right? You could reduce the damage by like maybe 10% and still be fine. But I think the primary issue people have with it is that it has a 3-second reload time. What is that, dude? Like, this should be like 6 seconds at least. That way, if you don't happen to kill someone with a single magazine, you're more than likely going to die to someone else who's using some type of like high damage brawler weapon, right? Like any type of like assault or close quarters weapons. That should be the case, right? That should be the case where if you don't kill someone with this in a single mag, then they should have the upper hand on you. Currently, that's not the case because our reload time's so freaking short, but that should be. And finally, Charge Rocket is the last one. I think it is slightly too strong. I think the damage should be reduced by maybe like 10%. I think it's a little bit too high damage of a weapon. For the type of perk that it has, for the reload speed, etc. Like, I really like the perk. I like the perk. I think it's great. The radius is fine. I simply think that it deals a little bit too much damage to the point where it's comparable to Stormrack even, right? It's like it deals pretty much the same damage as Stormrack. And that alone is maybe like, well, you know, why choose Stormrack? You could use the same thing, but it makes you double the speed. Like, that's kind of ridiculous. But on top of that, if you're going to nerf Stormrack's reload implant, which you should, honestly, like, let's be real, you should, then this would have a significant advantage over Stormrack. So I think the damage should just be nerfed is what I'm trying to say. Not by a lot, but just by a little bit. Like, again, 10%. And that is everything. All the mechs, all the weapons. These are all the things that I think they should change. If I was in charge, these are the things that I would change, right? If you disagree with any of the things that I said, then please tell me why, right? Don't just tell me, oh, I disagree. Like, please tell me why you disagree. I'd be very interested in hearing that, and I'd probably even change my opinions, if I agree with what you're saying. But as of right now, yeah, these are just the things that I think. These are the things that I would change if I was in charge. If I was in charge of rebalancing, if I could rebalance any of this stuff, that's how I would do it. To the devs, if you're watching, please at least do a 5th rebalance wave, because it is absurd that you're not gonna touch Carbine, Disc Launcher, Arc Torrent, Brick House, Redox. It's at least those 5 things that desperately need to be buffed. Like, that's ridiculous. Even if you don't nerf anything, at very least buff the things that are clearly garbage. But that's about all I have to say. Appreciate y'all. Take care.